She won't remember the arguments, not really. What stays with her is the silence that followed. You didn't write a long goodbye. You didn't shout, plead, or explain. You just vanished, no trace, no drama. Just a quiet, intentional absence. And that's what haunts her, because it wasn't just silence, it was peace. It was purpose. It was the decision to walk away, not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. That's what she didn't expect. She checks her phone that first night, waiting for something, anything. Maybe an apology, maybe anger, but nothing. And that nothing, that's the loudest thing she's ever heard. Because deep down, she thought you'd never leave. She thought she had you on the hook. Thought you'd always come back, eventually. But you didn't walk away to make a statement. You walked away because you saw the pattern. You finally realized your energy was being drained by someone who only gave you crumbs, and you didn't need to fight for clarity anymore. You found it in the quiet. You see, the man who begs becomes replaceable. But the man who disappears with dignity becomes unforgettable, because you didn't need her to validate your worth. You saw it on your own. You didn't ghost her to hurt her. You disappeared because your peace became louder than your pain. That moment, the one where she reaches for you and finds emptiness, that's what lives in her memory. Not because you were cruel, but because you were calm, and calm, purposeful silence that leaves a deeper echo than any final goodbye ever could. You outgrew the noise, you chose yourself, and that changed everything. Most men break, you didn't. That's what makes this different. You stayed quiet not out of pride, but out of principle. Most men give in at the first, "Hey, how are you?" They flinch. They fold, they reply, even when they swore they wouldn't, but not you. You didn't go silent to manipulate her emotions. You didn't vanish to win her back. You disappeared because you realized how much you were losing by staying available. This silence isn't cold. It's disciplined. You've learned that being accessible to someone who undervalued you is the real weakness. So now, you don't engage, not because you're bitter, but because you finally understand boundaries. You finally realize that peace costs too much to trade for confusion again. And that's where she starts to unravel. Because the version of you she knew, the one who always responded, always chased, always explained, that version no longer exists. She can't bait you with guilt. She can't spark a reaction. She can't pull you back in with late-night messages or breadcrumbs of affection. You've become still, not emotionally numb, but emotionally grounded. She expected you to break character, to cave, to show up like you always did. But you didn't, and that quiet strength, that rattles her more than any shouting match ever could. Now she's the one sitting with uncertainty. She's the one replaying every message, every move, wondering how she lost control. But you're not playing the game anymore. You're not performing. You've chosen something higher: peace over validation, discipline over emotion. And that, more than anything else, is what changes the story. Because when you stop reacting to her chaos, you become the calm she never knew how to hold. You're no longer a man she left behind. You're the man she can't reach. You don't need to forget her. You just need to remember what she taught you. Most men cling to the memory of the woman. You, on the other hand, study the lesson. You don't scroll through old photos at 2 a.m. hoping to feel something. You don't stalk her socials looking for signs that maybe, just maybe, she misses you. No, you went inward. You faced the mirror. You asked yourself the hard questions most people run from. Why did I stay? Why did I let her treat me like an option? What part of me believed I didn't deserve more? That's how the real transformation begins. Not with the gym posts or the moving on stories, but with the uncomfortable truth. She was the mirror that revealed the cracks in your self-worth. She didn't break you. She showed you where you were already broken. And that's a gift, if you're brave enough to see it. So every time that familiar ache rises in your chest, you don't run from it. You sit with it. You learn from it. Because pain, when processed, becomes wisdom. And wisdom becomes the armor that protects your future self from repeating the same mistake. You no longer chase the past. You no longer fantasize about fixing what was never solid. Now you build, quietly, consistently, internally. You've stopped waiting for closure. You've created it. And while most men tried to go back and rewrite the story, you've started a new one. One where you're no longer defined by how she saw you, but by how you now see yourself. That's growth. That's power. That's the man who no longer needs her memory to feel complete. Because the lesson she left behind became the foundation of who you're becoming. You don't need to be seen to be valuable. After the breakup, most men scramble, they get louder, they flex, they show off what they're doing, who they're with, how unbothered they are. But deep down, it's all performance, a desperate attempt to be noticed, to be missed, but not you. You've gone the other way, quieter, focused, intentional, because you've learned value isn't proven through attention. It's revealed through discipline. You're not showing her what she lost. You're building something so real, so grounded, that even if she never sees it, it still changes everything. You've become the man who no longer needs her applause to feel worthy. There's no flex in your progress, no ego in your growth. You're not in the gym for a revenge body. You're training because your health is your foundation. You're not building a business to post screenshots. You're building because you finally understand the power of purpose. And maybe, someday, she'll look back and see the shift. She'll realize you didn't glow up to hurt her, you evolved because she couldn't grow with you. But by then, it won't matter, because you won't be trying to prove anything anymore. The man you're becoming doesn't seek validation. He moves in silence, in strength, in purpose. She'll remember you not for the noise you made, but for the quiet power you walked away with. And that kind of transformation, that doesn't just leave a mark, it becomes a legend in her memory. You didn't win the breakup, you transcended it, and the man who transcends, he doesn't need an audience, he just keeps rising. She didn't choose you, but you finally chose yourself. That's the shift, not in anger, not in spite, in peace, because the hardest truth most men avoid is this: being chosen doesn't define your worth. You stop waiting for her to see you. You stop hoping she'll come back. And you start living not in hope, but in alignment. Maybe she moved on fast. Maybe she replaced you without flinching. But that doesn't say anything about your value. It says everything about your standards now, because real self-worth isn't loud, it's solid. And when a man gets solid, when he starts leading himself, no one else gets to steer his direction. You cut the hidden threads. No photos, no old texts, no social media ties, because you know even one thread can pull you back into a storm you've already survived. You don't leave the door open, you close it, not to punish her, but to protect your future, and that's when the power settles in. You don't just move on, you rise. You're not living off memory anymore. You're waking up with mission. You're going to bed with clarity. You're no longer a version of yourself that bends to be loved. You've become a man who walks in truth, no longer moved by who stayed or who left. She thought she ended the story, but she was just the prologue. The real book, you're writing it now, and she's not in this chapter. You're not becoming cold. You're becoming clear, because your silence isn't revenge, it's evolution. If you're done being an option, vanish like you never existed. And when she finally looks back, all she'll remember is the moment she lost access and never got it back.